Good morning, everyone, and welcome to a cold day in Florida. We do live in Florida, right?
This is too much.
Well, thank you all for joining. This is always a very, very fruitful and enjoyable meeting. Thank you all for taking the time out for the benefit of your communities. We are really excited, lots to share as as always this morning. Um, I would start out by saying that our plates are very, very full. And we've had some changes in staffing in the office recently, so I wanted to kick off with that. You should have received an email. The LTPT coordinator, Matea Hampton, received a wonderful opportunity for a promotion within our agency, and she has moved on up, as they say, and we are really, really happy for her. And I would like to thank her for all the work that she did facilitating the work of the LTPTs. I know she was wonderful. She was responsive and a great asset to all of our community. So I want to recognize her and thank her for all of her fine work. She's one of the stars of our office, and we always knew that she would do great things. So thanks to her. We also have some more great news to share. We have with us this morning, we are very, very, very happy to report that the Office of Broadband has a new director, and we would like to introduce him to you this morning. Leo, are you on with us? Let's see if he's in the room yet. As you might imagine, he's a busy, busy man right now, getting up to speed on all the things that are going on in the office. Let me double check one quick time here. All right, he may join us shortly. So I will jump ahead and I'm going to move on to a segment. We are talking about the LTPT's role in the challenge process for the B program. Joshua Hoadley, who is also relatively new to our staff, he has become a fantastic asset to us. Josh is going to be talking to us briefly about the role of the LTPTs in the challenge process. Josh?
Good morning. Good morning. First off, pleasure to meet you all. Just like Sean said, I'm relatively new here with Office of Broadband. I've been with Florida Commerce, formerly DEO, for a few years now. Kind of joined the broadband team in a GIS capacity. So I'm definitely excited to kind of get to know you all and work with you guys. We're definitely blowing out our GIS operations here. So we have some fun stuff planned on kind of how we're going to involve and kind of boost everybody up with kind of some coordination and stuff. But kicking it off right into it, challenge process is kind of a big item on our list, just because it's kind of the kick off a beat. So going into it, the challenge process overview that Florida is looking to do is we're going to kind of align with other states and defer heavily to the NTIA. So we will be kind of hosting it through a web portal, which will be GIS Hub. So it'll kind of tie nicely into other GIS features that we're hopefully going to roll out with the challenge process as we move forward. But this web page for the challenge process to kind of vet the public would be kind of locked to the general public. It's going to be kind of the idea of the eligible entities that the NTA has defined to kind of facilitate the challenges themselves. We plan to give you guys access to that kind of page so we can kind of see, involve you more, and really kind of um, serve as that bridge. And kind of going over the specific role of the LTPT that we're envisioning, unfortunately, NTA is pretty strict on what their eligible entities are and who can facilitate a challenge of it. So we're kind of thinking that you guys will serve as the bridge between the eligible entity and the community, as well as kind of gauge and gather and kind of get people where they need to go and kind of help us. And obviously, we'll give you whatever support we can. And on that note, if there's ideas that you guys have, specific needs or anything like that that you can think of that may be able to help, feel free to let Sean or myself know, and we can see if that's something that we can accommodate to kind of help the challenge process kick off a little bit better. Um, just kind of just a very broad overview of what we're doing and kind of what the LTPTs will kind of fit into it. For people that don't know, it is just nonprofits, it's internet service providers, and it's local and tribal entities. So for LTPTs that are more kind of connected with counties, there's a lot of resources kind of that you guys can tap into. When closing it all out, we are doing heavy in the so it will not be open to the general public as far as the communities. It's local government entities, internet service providers, and I can pull this up on the NTIA guidance for BEAD. But essentially, they specifically state that it will be counties and cities. So if the LTPT that you guys have is connected with the county, feel free to leverage your county resource, leverage the county license, however you need to do that. But the LTP itself cannot challenge. Now, if you are a member of the county entity, then you can. But I know we have a very diverse group with our LTPT groups. So it will be kind of a unique basis probably from LTPT to LTPT. But yes, it is locals of, or a local government and tribal entity.
For example, there's at least one local government seat on every LTPT. That local government person can be the lead in to that local government being the one that actually submits the challenge.
Yeah, we just run into issues of if it technically becomes from an LTPT because we're unique, then it's possible that rebuttal could be completely thrown out because the NTIA they've laid things out very, very kind of strict for us on this. But like I said, we're more than willing to work with people and kind of make sure, because ultimately we want to make sure the public's heard and they can't challenge directly. So I think that you guys will definitely be able to help us with that. But beyond that, we're doing a lot of fun things with the hub. My idea is hopefully to get LTVTs involved more than just the challenge process, actually kind of get some utilization of more collaboration, deliberation, what projects are going in certain areas. There's a lot of fun things we can maybe classify people as role, things like that, kind of bolster and kind of showcase a lot of different things that you all are doing, spread ideas and kind of make more of a facilitation. So that's all I have. If there's no other questions, I'll give it back to Sean.
Thank you, Josh. Does anyone have questions for Josh before we go back to Leo?
Sean, I do have a quick question. This is
Sure.
David Palmer from Polk County. I know that's a shock to everybody that I would be the one. So thank you, Josh. Welcome. We're glad you're part of the team. I do have a question on the overall challenge process. Will we be able to do mass uploads or group uploads, or will they only be individuals? I know that in the past that we've had to do only individual ones, so I did not know if we would be able to do a full group at a time, or is it going to be individuals? Do you know?
Yeah, so we're actually going to split apart a lot of the different the challenge code types for for areas that we're anticipating larger, like planned deployment, enforceable commitments, things like that. It will make sense to have a little bit larger bulk. So we will be doing probably a CSV bulk style upload for that. For community anchor institution challenges and things like that, we're probably going to look more of like a true map approach that you're selecting an actual point on it. Just where the data makes sense to take in bulk, we'll go ahead and take in bulk for that. But that is considering it. We're designing and kind of finalizing our actual process with it, but that is intended.
Thank you.
Yeah, and we're probably gonna do CSV templates. That way you are giving us exactly what the NTIA wants. That way we're not making you guys do anything crazy or making any formatting or anything weird go on. So we're gonna try to make it as streamlined and straightforward as we can with that.
Fantastic. Thank you, Josh. Any more questions for Josh? All right, wonderful. Well, I am pleased to introduce you all to our new director of the Office of Broadband, Leo Garcia.
Thanks, Sean, and thank you everyone for allowing me to take a few minutes out of your time. Apologies to begin with for being a few minutes late to the meeting. As you guys could imagine, it's just been very a whirlwind for me. While I'm new to broadband, I'm not new to commerce. So I did transition from within the division in our Office of Long-Term Resiliency. So I've been with commerce for about a year and a half, a little bit more than that now. But this is I think my 6th day on the job. So as you can imagine, just drinking from the fire hose, but very excited to be doing so. Absorbing as much as I can, while I, of course, leverage the team that we have in place, that you all know very well, with, of course, Sean and Paul and Tanya as part of the leadership team. And today you guys I believe, got to meet Josh and his role in the whole challenge process. So it's going to be exciting times. We're all busy. But we can't do it without you guys, right? So you guys play a key role in our success as well, and we're needing you all's efforts to make it better, right? We have a good foundation, and we're working towards that, making it great and getting service to all those that are not served or underserved. And you guys are key to that success. So thank you again for allowing me a few minutes. And I'm around for any other questions. But if it comes to programmatic questions, please feel free to just shoot those to Sean or Paul.
Well
Thank you.
played, sir. Well played. Thank you, Leo. We are really, really excited. Leo has jumped right in, is asking all the right questions, and is a grand new asset to our team. So thank you, Leo. Next on our agenda, we had a conversation with an LTPT in the last week, and Peter Murray was a part of that conversation. And we were talking about ways in which local governments and LTPTs can assist citizens with questions about service and accessibility and things like that. And I asked Peter if he would talk about some great success that they saw in one of the counties that he's working with. Peter?
Thanks, Sean, and welcome, Leo. You've got a good team in place. It's been a pleasure to work with them over the past couple of years here. Yeah, so I put together some slides to kind of bring the ideas together, maybe help everybody. My background, I'm going to leave it like this because I'm going to show you a couple of screenshots. Can you see that? Is that up, Sean?
Yep, we can see
Yeah,
it.
okay. So my background, I am a grant reviewer for the NTIA. I reviewed the tribal, the connected minority communities, and their version of BIP. Most of that was during COVID, so it was interesting having that pile of stuff to read and do. We run the Connected Cities Tour since 2016, so we've been to over 60 cities and explored how they build their connected city, which includes the broadband and digital equity efforts. So sort of as a think tank and thought leadership effort. And then Dense Networks has been in business in Florida for 13 years. And my background, 40 years in building digital infrastructure, Verizon, Level 3, and companies like that. So in engaging with the public, you got to make sure you've considered, your full infrastructure and you understand their impacts here, because it's not just, am I connected? It is, are they going to dig up my lawn? Are they going to pull cables on the poles? Are they going to drop a new pole? In some markets, they drop a whole lot of new poles, and suddenly a person with a nice clear view has a pole right in front of their home. So it's, you've got to be considerate of that because you're going to get the complaints. So make sure you're considering the full reach, not just are they connected, because your complaints that you'll get are kind of from left field, not just I'm not connected. Make sure we've been working with the city of Philadelphia for many years. I built the original fiber optic network in Philadelphia. I was then a professor at Temple University and CCP. And you got to make sure that you're not just looking at the connectivity, but you look at the whole ecosystem, because your nonprofits, your schools, your anchor institutions, so they call them in this program, are essential, and they link back to, sometimes they're the actual anchor tenant that makes this cost effective for the carrier, the ISP, to serve your local resident. In Lee County, we have an example where we had 2 or 3 dead zones, if you would, and one carrier won a contract to build to the schools. Well, suddenly that put fiber right in the middle of areas and opened that up with someone being very close, and it actually created a competitive environment. So make sure you're considering, you've really analyzed your anchor institutions, you've drilled down with your city or county leaders, you've met with the schools, other major institutions, because they may know more about the network than you may know at this point. And then make sure you have a community engagement vehicle. I'm going to kind of turn over to, I'm going to suggest Kevin Laux and Kevin O'Malley from Lee County talk a little bit about how they built up trust in the community, how they engaged their commissioners, how they engaged local anchor institutions and nonprofits in Orange County, where we're doing right now. My firm is working with Orange County, Osceola County, and Lee County in Florida. Orange has engaged with 35 nonprofits to really get the word out there to their people, as well as to build programs. But in Lee, they really have done an amazing job of building the community engagement vehicles. Either of the Kevins available to make some commentary? I'm going to actually show your website here.
Peter, this
Yeah.
is Kevin O'Malley. This actually, you're showing the website.
Yeah.
That is probably that has been that, along with the initial LTPT. We followed this outline you have up here, and we developed based upon the LTPT toolkit surveys. We talked with carriers. We have been doing or continue to do work with providers of unserved and unserved areas, working with, we recently had a call with the state of for GIS, and we're working with making sure we have the right fabric and making sure that the truth that you see here, those unserved areas, are the correct area. I think that's some of the hardest parts, is identifying what areas are unserved or underserved. We pretty much have mapped that out. Lehigh Acres is a certain area that the carriers are now building into based upon our surveys and our GIS mapping. We had our county commissioners write letters so that our carriers could get money from the BOP program. I believe that was, Peter, part of the CPF
Yep. Mm-hmm.
program. And I think we really have worked hard with the carriers and GIS, because to me, the most important thing is to start identifying. This is how you get trust, is you tell people, yeah, we know this is a bad area and we're working on this area to get help.
Yeah, in the early stages.
I'll silence my phone.
Yeah, no, Kevin, I'm going to come back to you. I just want to mention that in the early stages, what Lee County did that was really, in my mind, perfect is before we had all this data from the FCC, they bought certain data, and my firm did the mapping for them so we can identify where the issues were granularly and start a really good conversation with the ISPs. The two dominant ones are Comcast and CenturyLink, Lumen, Quantum, right? There's 3 brands there. But what was amazing is after we did our work, which took a few months, we then gave that to Comcast and to CenturyLink and anybody else who wanted it. Those are the only 2 who really ran with it. And it may be hard to see here, but this was our data. And you see this pattern with these couple of cutouts here. We gave it to them and said, overlay our data with your data. And wouldn't you know it, their data almost had the exact same cutouts, and we were able to then start talking street level about where the gaps were, because there were street level gaps. One side was done, one wasn't in some of these fringe areas. So that really helped us quite a bit. Kevin, you want to talk about that a little bit more?
Well, yeah, we worked on the map, but we also worked on the income areas. The areas when we started working, this really came to light when we were working with North Myers Community Center, which we have just applied for a grant. We're waiting to hear back. Peter helped us with that grant. And so what we found, and I think this is important for people to know, is the community center was placed in an area that had a certain poverty level that didn't meet the standard. But once they came back with further questions, we now realize that when you say that, you need to show what areas it served. And once we did that, we were able to get people to understand that, yes, this may be in an area that is, 13% and you want 8%, but it serves an area that is 2%. So that became something that was actually something that came back to us as a question on our grant. And then
okay.
we also had to identify, as Peter said, our anchor institutions and the libraries and what speeds they had as well. Peter, you
And
want to?
as Kevin's talking, he hit on some key things. I actually I didn't have up the poverty map, Kevin, that we did, but I actually had the Philadelphia GIS mapping that we're involved with. They have the head of their city's technical department came out of GIS, so they're very well funded. But I mean, they have it to the level where you can click on poverty levels. Yeah, and your GIS, once you have data, it's not that hard for them to do this. Now, violent crime laid over that, all these data points just layer and they inform your data decisions. In Philadelphia, they had all this fiber optic in the city that they wouldn't be allowed to be used for broadband purposes until we started this funding program. And they determined that they would allow anchor institutions to lay onto this network. And the original design we did for the anchors, we could serve about 20 of them for $5 million. And when we did it this way, I'm just looking for, here it is. We were able to serve 120 because they had existing fiber that they weren't willing to use. But as you can see, each of these centers lays almost right on top of a fiber route. And you just had to build a quick lateral to bring those anchors onto the network. So these GIS tools can give you such amazing insights. You don't have to be a broadband expert to see the data and interpret the data. And then that allows you to work much closer with the state in identifying what's missing. In Orange County, they put a significant amount of money, a total of 19 million towards broadband and digital equity. I happen to live in Orange County and they're my client. It's just like a dream come true for someone like me. But we were able to, we're just rolling out the first connectivity to almost 1,400 homes. It's just about completed. A charter won an RFP we did. This is prior to any of the Florida, this work was ARPA based. But they designed with their GIS team, because we already had all this data. We then got the data of addresses to be built, and they created this database where a consumer can go here and put in their address. There's a box for that. They then can click on here, and it's not live yet. It'll be live in another week or two. It's interesting we added the commissioners' names. But they'll know here that this will turn green if their house is eligible. But right now, if they go and they want to see if they're eligible, these are all the homes that are eligible. And our commissioners have been very active in obviously promoting that this is being done and all that. So we're getting the word out that way. Charter's sending mailers, but we get a lot of phone calls. That's why I bring up, oh, they just were digging on my property. There was a truck parked outside. Oh, they left a mess, or they made noise, and all of this. So you have to be prepared for weird questions that you may not anticipate once this work gets started. But working with the state is really now key, because the most important thing we want to do is correctly identify who's unserved and underserved, and then get them service, and then communicate to them that service is available, right? I mean, that's our goal. So this is information we had in our meeting with the state, and they showed us the stats they have from, and bear with me there. Using, I don't know how many of you have done this already, but you must do this. You must get the cost quest data 3.2, 4 should be available. I think it's available now. But get at least 3.2 and get the FCC fabric and just gather that data. It's not hard for your data management people to pull those files and give you at a minimum an Excel sheet of the data, but more likely to interpret that data into a GIS file. And that gives you that insight that we're talking about. And then when you share that with the state people, we met with Bob Gitson and Sean. We haven't had the pleasure yet of working with Josh, but we got very good insights from the way they looked at the data. And when we got granular, there's red zones for me. Basically 2 companies already have all the existing legacy landlines, what's unserved and underserved. So the question you want to know is, are they prepared to overbuild? Are they prepared to upgrade their network, or is your county going to work with someone else to overbuild their poor network? That's the choice that we all have. Either they fix it or we try to get somebody else to fix it. Doesn't mean that everyone will come rushing in. That's that's an issue. But this insight was really good for us. And then the other insight was they've added what they're calling license, not the state, but the federal guys have added licensed terrestrial fixed wireless. This is mobile wireless. These numbers are bogus, in my firm's opinion. I'm only doing this 40 years and built thousands and thousands of miles of fiber. This makes no sense, these numbers, and they're going to impact the analysis of your data. So you need to get your arms around how we're classifying this fixed wireless and what these addresses are, because these addresses could be duplicative of these addresses, because these are landlines and these are cellular or theoretically fixed 5G connections, but there's no way that's anywhere near deployed. So anyway, so you have to get command of your data. You need to know what the variables are. And then as we just showed, that GIS ability to zero in on your areas, you literally put it up on the screen and share it with your carriers and help them, because they're struggling to fine tune this data. But when you work with them, you really can progress very granularly when they give you a good person to work with and your team. So community engagement, if you have all these tools, you can roll out the mapping. You can do things like identify the poverty zones like they did in Philadelphia, and we did it in Lee, overlay your sites. And then in conclusion, I just want to give you all a quick tip. If you haven't, look up the National Digital Inclusion Alliance. That's your nonprofit that's been doing this for 20 years. I've worked with them for the longest time. Angela Seifer leads it. Just came out of Cleveland, basically just a grassroots group that's now funded with all kinds of grants. Everything you need to know, from asset mapping to digital inclusion, white papers, everything you need to know is on their site. So if you're trying to come from ground zero to informed, and they have forms you can use, it's really just, if you take anything away, the NDIA, the National Digital Inclusion Alliance. Okay, so that's what I had to share, Sean. Kevin, any final thoughts?
Well, Sean, Peter, look at Jack Mitchell had a couple of questions. Does somebody want to address those?
Yeah.
I think it's first one is the counties and local governments are the applicant provider who wishes to build the network out. I believe the building network out for us, we were letters from our commissioners was how we worked on that, if I understand the question correctly. And as far as the survey is concerned, we did a survey just of our counties by asking them several questions based upon the LTPT toolkit, modified some, and put that in with our SWOT analysis. There's another question here. We know where the holes are, but how to substantiate it. I think that goes to the next question. How do we know how to get the GIS information? And is it accurate? So how do we trust that the GIS information is accurate? Peter, does that go to that last slide?
Yeah, let me jump in on that one. It's not accurate. The county databases are not accurate. The FCC database is not accurate. The cable company's database is not accurate. But combined, they all really fine tune to where you can be accurate. But you've got to put you've got to gather all the sources, and then you got to put the time in. In Orange, one guy got carried away and I wasn't aware, and he literally was spending like 20 hours a week in the map looking at each residence and trying to determine and going to Google Maps and doing that sort of thing. That's what it comes down to. And I guess I'd throw it back at Sean and his guys. You're not expecting them to get down and get every last address identified. You're trying to get the zones, everyone agreement of where that zone in as detailed as you can get format. Is that fair from what you said during our meeting, Sean?
Bob or Josh, can you jump in on that one? You need to unmute yourselves.
But this, you can spend endless hours trying to get this perfect. In Orange, we're convinced we're 99%. And like I said, that last 1%, somebody got obsessed with, and he could have just kept doing this for the rest of the year, trying to make sure each thing was. So it's really comparing the federal data, the state data, your own GIS data, and then working with the carrier ISPs. And you know, at this stage of the process, we all know who's interested, right? I mean, we've had 2 or 3 rounds for them to bid. We've met with them. So, you know, even in the most populated counties, I don't have more than 2 that seem to be very interested in this, serving this market. You know, some of them are just interested in the expensive gated communities, right? They're not going to do this work. So it's really roll up your sleeves with those folks.
Peter, one thing as far as we did, when talking about GIS sources, when we hired your firm, you had Ookla, you had several sources, paid sources that we used with ARPA money because there was a question about where the local team got the money. We allocated money to hire Peter's firm to do a gap analysis for us. So we were able to get pretty accurate data starting out. That very first map, Peter, that you showed,
Yeah.
we actually paid for that data. And I guess
But
Peter,
the good
you
news
can
is you
talk.
don't have to pay for it anymore because the
No.
FCC and Cost West have caught up, and they are, you know, there have been challenges. Josh just talked about the challenge process. There was a whole large challenge process, which many of you were part of. I think the gentleman in Polk, you had to key in one by one, right? You know, that's not feasible in some of the counties to do it one by one. So you have
No,
to
it's
have a
not.
bulk map upload, you know,
Mhm.
which I'm sure they'll figure out because it's just not, otherwise you'll have a map that won't get corrected, right? So to answer the question, how do you substantiate it? I think you take all the data sources you have, you acknowledge within your own team what you think is suspect, and then you get with Josh and Bob Gitson,
Mhm.
and you fine tune with them, and then you have a data set that then you take that and you fine tune it with your providers. And then, you know, I've driven some areas, right? Literally, we had an area with like 200 homes, and we were getting down to, is it 210 or 208? And I just drove out there and went down some dirt roads to see what was on the end of them. Just what the heck. It was like my driving in that zone was about 2 hours, and I validated every address, and I was done. You know,
And
so
Sean and Peter also, we did work with the economic development as well, our Department of Economic Development, to
Mhm.
see not only what's built, but what is being built as far as businesses and so that. So that's also an encouragement and a good substantiation if you use your municipality's economic development to be your ally in this process.
and there's the question of, you know, how do you pay for this? Orange County took a huge chunk and pushed it in. And for a person like me, it's just amazing to have that much money. We're deep into, I see David Collins there from Aris. He's presented here. You know, they've received a $3 million grant. Well, their work they're doing is identifying people that don't have internet. And most of the time it's people who, it's because of affordability, not because the pipe's not there, right?
Right.
But it's this holistic ecosystem. Money gets it going for sure. But I think, Sean, even you have a little bit of money to help for some of these, to help some folks get up to speed. I don't know if it's enough money, but you certainly, you all can work that out. But there's, I think there
We
is
do.
planning funding available. Is that accurate, Sean?
We do. We have $804,000 set aside for the LTPTs. That basically works out to about $1,000 a month for each of the LTPTs. We talked about that on our call back in December, and we got some great feedback on the types of uses that folks would like to use those funds for. That was fantastic feedback. We really do appreciate that.
And
We
we're of course available to help if anyone needs help. That's my 10-second commercial there.
Thank you, Peter. Any more questions there? No, that's a really interesting piece for everybody. Right.
I think this is Bob Gitson. I think what Peter said about the data is fairly accurate. In Florida, for instance, the FCC CostQuest fabric has over 7.4 million locations on it. And we know there's probably more than that or less than that, whatever. But it's going to be a moving target. The challenge process for location and availability is going to be ongoing throughout the life of the FCC fabric, which will exceed, I believe, the BEAD timeline. So it's a work in progress, and I think what he mentioned about getting a hold of the providers and working with the providers to make sure that they are making service available everywhere in your county or everywhere in your particular area. And yes, in many cases, it may be an affordability issue, but the goal is to get availability to everyone. And it'll be ongoing simply because the way Florida's population is expanding, more and more new homes are being built every day. More and more suburbs pop up every day. I see it here in Leon County. Every time I go to Costco here in Tallahassee, it seems like there's more houses being built all the time. So it's ongoing, and I think we're getting a pretty good grip on where everything is. And I think what we're going to try and do here in the next couple of weeks is do some availability by geography. Right now I'm working on census tracts, and we're going to get down to block groups and blocks. And that way, that'll help us focus on where the need is the greatest. And that's where, and hopefully we can make these things public. There's no reason why we shouldn't. It's all aggregated data. And that will be a big use particularly to the LTPTs, I think, to have that kind of data to say, hey, you know what, around here, there's not a whole bunch of availability. Let's work with our rural electric cooperative, which are really doing a yeoman's job of getting availability out there. I know Tri-County in this area up here is very, very good at it. Central Florida Electric around in Dixie County, so the electric cooperatives are very cooperative and very helpful in this. But the more you know about where service is not available, the better off we'll all be. So I'm going to stop talking now.
Thank you, Bob. And thank you, Guido, for that post. There was a question about how LTPTs get a hold of the fabric access, and Guido put a link in there. Thank you, Guido.
In order to apply for that, though, you need an FRN number. It may be more beneficial to have, if you have a county GIS office, for them to do all the legwork on that, and they can grab the database for your particular county, and they can manipulate the data 9 ways to Sunday. So the LTPT would qualify I don't even know if they would qualify as a nonprofit organization.
No,
But
no,
I
no, they
would,
don't.
I would get a hold of the county if you have a county GIS office. If you don't, let us know and we can share some aggregated data with you that'll get you going.
Thank you, Bob. All right. Now we're going to jump on to some updates. Everyone wants to know where we are with all of our different programs. For the Broadband Opportunity Program, we've had 3 sets of award announcements out thus far, and we anticipate another set of announcements very, very soon. We continue to execute agreements on that grant program, so that is well underway. Under Capital Projects Fund, the Broadband Infrastructure Program, we are routing and drafting agreements as we speak. All the awards for that program have been announced. For Capital Projects Multi-Purpose Community Facilities Projects Program, we anticipate making those award announcements very soon as well, within the next few weeks. For digital connectivity, that application cycle opened on January 3rd and will be closing on March 4th at 5 p.m. Eastern. Please, 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 please make sure that everybody you are working with knows that those applications need to be in on time. No later than 5 p.m. on March 4th to make sure that we can look at those applications. That is very, very important. If you're not familiar with that program, the program guidelines and recordings of the application cycle webinar are posted on our website online, so that you can share that with folks who may be interested in this program. This is a program that will provide equipment to folks all across the state. So we're talking about laptops and tablets and modems and things like that they need to be able to access the internet. So it is a very, very exciting program for especially to it's really of particular interest to a lot of our nonprofits that work with a lot of target populations across the state. So we anticipate that program being well oversubscribed. So please make sure that those applications get in on time. On the Broadband Equity Access and Deployment Program, known as BEAD, we submitted volumes 1 and 2 to the NTIA on December 27th. Those got in on time and they are under review. We are waiting NTIA's full response to what we've submitted, and once we've heard from them, we'll be able to move that program forward. We do not anticipate opening up a cycle for that program until later this year. That is the largest of all of our programs. That is $1.162 billion. And as I've told several people, this is once in a lifetime funding. So our priority is to make sure that every unserved and underserved person in the state of Florida gets covered by this program. That is priority 1 and 2. So this is why all of these challenge discussions are really, really important. We need to make sure that no one gets missed. No one who's eligible for this funding gets missed. There will be plenty more information that comes out on this program as more guidance is put out by the federal government, and we will be sharing that with you on our website. We spend a lot of time and a lot of effort to make sure that all of our information is available to you, easily accessible on our website. We try to be very, very transparent about everything that we work on so that the public has full access to it. Share this with your community members, share this with your community partners, your nonprofits, everyone who needs to be engaged with this, particularly folks on the education and workforce development spectrum. and the healthcare community as well, making sure that everybody is hooked in and knows about all these opportunities, because we don't want for all this money to get spent and then for someone to say, well, I didn't know about it. So please, please, please work with us. We are happy to provide technical assistance to any of the teams. We'll come out and sit with you and sit with your folks and make sure that everyone understands everything that's available. Our job is to make sure that you are all successful in all of your efforts, and that all of your citizens and all of your businesses and all of your community anchor institutions are all connected and receiving the level of service that they need and deserve. So those are the updates on those programs. Do we have any questions on those? Fantastic. All right, now. Oh, yes. Go ahead.
Excuse me,
Yeah, go
Todd
right ahead.
Dunn, from Citrus County. Like it looked like you were just reading from a list on the dates and the elements of like the BOP, the CPF, B1 and 2. Can you just share those notes to the group, to the membership? I just couldn't keep up with the notes fast enough.
No problem. What I'll do is I'll follow up with this with a list of these to the whole group.
Thank you.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Now it's an opportunity to hear from all of you, the things that are going on in your communities, the things that are going on with our partners. I see we have the ARIS Foundation folks. They've been fantastic partners and always have great stuff to share. If any of you have something to share, questions, challenges, or successes, please feel free to unmute yourselves and you can take the floor.
I'll dive in. We continue to get large companies donating devices to us, and literally daily, weekly, we're putting devices in the hands of those in need. Literally 2 days ago, we outfitted the Boys and Girls Club in Apopka with 16 desktops. And so it's super cool to have about 40 students that come in after hours or after school and on the weekends, and they had nothing. And so it's such a simple solve for us. And so we're going to be outfitting 2 other Boys and Girls Clubs next week. And then we continue to get individuals in need. And so that's a simple blocking and tackling that we do. But yeah, as Peter mentioned, we've been awarded a grant in Orange County. So we're super excited to literally in the next couple of weeks to be able to deploy those cellular tablets to those in need. And so we've identified a variety of nonprofits that'll accomplish different categories of telehealth, homelessness, and things like that. So it's pretty exciting that that's upon us, and we're so close to deploy that. So we'd love to share best practices as we start rolling out that program. So there's some super fun things that are going on at ARIS.
And just to add to that, when you get into the weeds like this, we found working with something, I mentioned the nonprofits, one of them, Seniors First, already issued 400 tablets. And then they found out that people couldn't access the internet at home. They didn't know how to do, all the issues that we're going to talk about more and more with the digital equity. So we're identifying people that still need to get internet. So we have to get them the internet, and they're homebound. So there maybe have, challenges. So working with ARIS actually is like, I don't know how to describe it, but they're the tip of the spear, right? They get out there and they're touching all these people, real people. And out of that, we get so much anecdotal information that helps us figure out how to serve the community, not only with the broadband connection itself, but the services, with the digital navigator and those sort of things that we're doing. So if you're lucky enough to get them to come into your county, I think you're going to be quite particularly your family services and those sort of people are going to be elated with what they can enable. You just got to follow behind them and help fix some other things that get uncovered. So.
Fantastic. Thank you, David. Anyone else?
Sean, it's Kyle Holly here in Santa Rosa
Kyle.
County. I just want to share a thought on what's happening with us. The largest provider in our gap areas is completely unresponsive. So I just wanted to suggest to others who may have a similar situation that they look, if you are in an area like we are where there is an electric cooperative who is partnering with a new company, that new company is sensitive to going out beyond the footprint of the rural electric cooperatives, the service area, to try to reach fringe areas. That's where my gaps are. The big boys in telecom are not reaching all the way up there. The new company is not reaching down. The other thing I want to say is I really have to look to private equity on smaller firms, and other smaller firms who are internet service providing companies who are coming in, because I've got to find a way to work around or over, because it's a brick wall with the biggest of the telecom companies in my particular area, and it's a real limitation. And I'm just not sure. Yeah, the silence makes you want to kind of quit. And so I certainly am not going to do that here in Santa Rosa County, but I just want to encourage people to really don't waste much more time on the big guys, because we're going to run out of time. And so that may be not particularly helpful, but I do intend it to be sort of a motivating type of a comment. Any thoughts anybody has, or is anybody else running into that? Just no response from the oldest providers in these gap areas.
Interesting.
Kyle, I got some advice for you, but I don't think I want to share it all in public.
I understand.
Yeah. But I mean, we have deep relationships with all the players at this point. And yeah, some of them strategically just can't get everywhere in the time frames we're asking them to. So they're not answering you. And then some of them are just drinking from a fire hose, and they want to answer you, and they just don't know how to get to you. So I'll tell you some of the ways to get them to get to you. Private.
Thank you. I'll reach out, Peter. Thank you.
Cool.
Thank you, Kyle. Do we have others?
Sean, hi. This is Robin Beeling from Union County on the LTP team.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. Our issue in this county, and we're a small rural county in the state of Florida, and we have an area that's kind of, we've got Lake Butler is our main town.
Mhm.
And the areas in and around Lake Butler are served, and on, maybe, 8 miles outside of the city of Lake Butler. But there are other small towns in Union County, specifically in the west side of Union County, that we seem to be really struggling to get any of the larger telecom individuals to come out and serve us. And it's, now we've gone through a change of our commissioner in the county. And so we have, another commissioner that's now serving, that's the chair of the LTPT. I'll get it out in a minute. And I am kind of helping him as a co-chair there. But so we're trying to get up to speed, and this is the first meeting that I have attended of this group.
Mhm.
But I need advice. Mac and I need advice on what to do to make sure that we don't miss an opportunity with BEAD, because there is this western part of Union County that butts up to Columbia that no one seems to want to come out and help us. And so we're all unserved out in this area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm really familiar with Union County. I've been working with Jimmy Grantham for the last several years, trying to get some things started there. Robin, let's set up a call where we can where I can talk with your commissioners and we can get something started.
Okay. Yeah, we really need to do that, because I feel like we're hitting brick walls everywhere with the western end of the county.
Well, let me help break down that brick wall for you.
Great. Thank you. We'll reach out to you, Sean.
Okay, and I just put my email in the chat, so just hit that and we'll set up a call.
Okay, super. Thanks.
Excellent. Anyone else?
Hi, this is
Challenges,
Sam.
successes?
Oop.
Nope, go right ahead.
This is Sam Roberts from the City of Jacksonville Planning and Development Department. How are you guys doing today?
Doing great, Sam. Welcome.
So some of the issues that we've been running into, at least from our goal setting standpoint,
Hmm.
from the FCC data set that we've been looking at, we have a very large percentage of our county that counts both as, or actually neither, that doesn't count as underserved or unserved. And according to a lot of our survey data from the public, they're saying they have more issues with affordability and quality of connection rather than access altogether. So I was just wondering from y'all, how do we orient our goals in our report to address these issues that are more centered around affordability and quality of access rather than access at all?
I got you. Yeah, that's a very, very different issue. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of authority on the cost of service. The office is not a regulatory entity, but that doesn't mean that we can't have a conversation. So, Sam, let's follow up with a call with you guys too on affordability, because there may be some opportunities to look for ways to maybe find ways to shore that up. So I will follow up with you on that as well.
Excellent, thank you. And I've been looking at a lot of the FCC data.
Hmm.
And a lot of our survey data was brought in from zip codes. So it's really kind of difficult to drill down, at least from some of the stuff that we've received. And getting access to that fabric data would be very, very helpful because it would allow us to see really on that granular level, like we were talking about, which addresses have access. And it'll help us also as well plan for future development in more rural areas where we know they are unserved, but there might be 200 homes going up in the next 5 years. So we appreciate that, and I'll definitely reach out for more help from you guys.
Excellent. Thank you, Sam.
Sam, feel free to have your county GIS office or some entity within the county apply for a CostQuest Tier C license. They'll give you access to the fabric data for Duval County. It's free. It's the best information we have easily available.
Thank you, Bob.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Yep. I see a question here from Kevin. Kevin, ironically, the programs that are coming out of the office right now are intended to do just that. I remember one of the very earliest LTPT meetings that Matei and I attended. There was a question from the room, from the audience, about what is the incentive for a provider to serve, for example, a small rural community. And the answer was, the programs that we are funding do exactly that. They incentivize, they make business sense for some of those providers to enter and serve those communities. Beyond that, there's not a lot that we have the power, the funding, or the authority to really incentivize. One of the things that has been a great surprise to us has been the fact that in our grant programs, the amount of private leverage that was offered in the applications was higher than we expected, which was great because that meant that there was skin in the game there, and that it meant that our dollars could go further and serve more communities. So that's ironically the answer. What we're doing right now is really incentivizing that investment in those communities. Anyone else? There have been some great questions. I really do love these calls because we get great involvement and interaction and great questions. Anyone have anything great to to share? Anything that they're
No, this
celebrating?
is David, down in Polk County again.
Yeah, Dave.
It's not, I wouldn't call it great to share, but I would call it above average. We're
Okay.
excited about hosting this afternoon, as a matter of fact, an entire workshop on the grant projects fund on the digital connectivity. We've got
Mhm.
right now right under 40 individuals that will be attending both in person and on a webinar. That we're just going to go through, talk about what's eligible, who can apply, and what are the objectives of the program. And there seems to be a lot of real interest in the community, specifically around like digital literacy, senior services, and homebound and medical services. So we're very excited about hosting that this afternoon.
That's fantastic. I will raise some praise there. Polk County really, from very early on, has really been not afraid to pioneer a lot of this work. And to David's credit, he has been right at the tip of the spear. So thank you, David, for all you do for your county and also for your region.
Thank you, Sean.
And that actually reminds me of something that I would like to ask. We've had a couple of our smaller and newer LTPTs who are interested in maybe a little help or mentoring. Are there any teams who would be interested or available to allow them to sit in on your local meetings just to get an idea of the rhythm of your meetings, to get an idea of some of the innovative things that you're doing locally? If you were interested in being that kind of a mentor, please reach out to me and let me know, because there are a couple of folks who could really use kind of a brother or sister to kind of help them through their growing pains. So please just drop me a line and let me know that you would welcome them sitting in on your meetings. Ah, there's one right. Thank you so much, Anna. Thank you. Wonderful. I will follow up with you. And David. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. This is it. A rising tide raises all boats. Thank you so
Sean,
much.
I can help too here in Santa Rosa County. It's Kyle.
Oh, thank you, Kyle.
And they don't necessarily have to come. I mean, they can come to watch, but I would also I can go to them a little bit within reason, too. Across the 17 counties in the Northwest Florida, I could do that.
Yeah, that would be great. They were just interested in, like, if you had virtual meetings and things like that, that they could just log on and listen and get an idea of,
sure,
of how you've gotten as far as you've gotten.
Sure.
So that's truly appreciate that. Thank you. I really love this group. Great people. Any other questions? Recording transcription, we can get that to you as well, Russell. I'll make a note of that. And like I said, I will send you the notes about where we are with all the different programs so that everyone knows the status of all of those and when to expect things. Well, thank you very much. Appreciate that, Russell. The opportunity. Oh, yes, absolutely. Absolutely, Michelle. All right. All right. Anyone else for the good of the order? All right. If not, our next meeting will be February 15th, the day after Valentine's Day. But if there are ever things that come up that you need assistance with, you don't have to wait until this monthly meeting. Please feel free to reach out to us. Are you going to talk about two awards? Yeah, that's what I mentioned earlier. We should be making those announcements very, very soon, within the next few weeks. So that also reminds me, if you are not subscribed to our website, please do. That way you will automatically get that notification when any announcement is made. All right. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for all the work that you're doing for your communities. We will talk to you in February. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you, team. Thank you, everyone.
Bye, Sean.